Hardly any story and a floating triangle. It sounds like a disaster, but it turned out to be a masterpiece. Like me. I'm MTK, and today we are reviewing Void Souls, a simplistic, minimalist Souls-like, where you play as a floating triangle on a journey to repair reality itself. On paper, this game has no business being as good as it is. This is probably the biggest surprise for me of 2024, and I have very few negative points on this game. And let me just say, the gameplay on the screen does not do this game justice. It is so much more fun than it looks, and it truly is a game that you have to play to fully understand. But let me try to explain what makes this game so good. So let's get into it, starting at the visuals. So as you can see, there isn't a lot to this game. That isn't to say that it looks bad. It's just to say that there isn't a lot going on to look bad, or look good for that matter. But this game has a neat style to it, and in my opinion, it's beautiful. The sound design and music are also very good as well. But the best thing about the visuals is the world design. The game has such a unique blend of natural and sci-fi. One moment you're in a forest, the next a snowy mountain, and then a weird alternate reality. It truly keeps you guessing and always feels fresh and exciting. So although there's not a lot going on with this game, what is going on looks very well and performs well, and they did a really good job of polishing everything and bringing it all together to make a simple but unique package. But let's talk about the story. At least what story there is to talk about. This game has a very minimal story, and even after playing through it, I'm not sure if I get it completely. That might sound strange, but this game has like almost no cutscenes, hardly any lore to find, and really the only thing you get is a general idea of what has happened and what you are trying to do. Now maybe I missed something, and if I did and I'm wrong about this, please correct me in the comments. But basically, this game is the epitome of being all about the gameplay and has about as little story as you can possibly have without having no story at all. So if you're a very story-centric person, this game is probably going to disappoint you because there's really not much for you to even glean from it at all, as far as the story goes anyway. But I will say that there is a lot of mystery to it, and the time that you spend trying to figure out what's going on and what that thing is and what this boss has to do with anything is kind of a story in and of itself. But as far as a traditional story goes, it really doesn't have much of one. So now on to the combat. Since this game lacks in the story department, it will literally live or die on the combat. But luckily, they knocked this one out of the park. There's a fair amount of gear and weapons that can give you a decent amount of variety when it comes to builds and playstyles. The leveling system is straightforward and simple, having only 4 stats to invest in, but it's the timing and smoothness of the combat that really cause this game to shine. So often in a Souls-like game, the combat can feel clunky and janky, especially when it comes to indie Souls-like games. And this is where I think the lack of story was actually a genius move. By dumbing things down and honing in on a couple key elements, this allowed them to really fine-tune and ensure the game is smooth, fun, and polished. As I have said many times, a Souls-like lives and dies on its combat. So it seems to me that they took extra care to make sure that they got it right, and I think that they did. Now as far as the difficulty goes, it is kind of spotty. Some bosses you will walk in and mow through, and then others you are going to spend a significant time on, and there's quite a big difficulty spike. But this game has a very Dark Souls feel when it comes to the difficulty of the areas. Some of the areas and enemy types / placements seem like a boss in and of themselves, which I personally find nostalgic and fun. But I would say that the difficulty is average for a Souls-like game. Now, one criticism I have for the combat is that they put a shield in the game that does allow you to parry, but as with so many other games, it doesn't offer a big enough reward for you to take the time to learn the timing and use it effectively. But aside from that small thing, the combat is superb and very well done. Now, if you've made it this far into the video, you are probably enjoying yourself, so please consider leaving a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Lastly, let's talk about the general gameplay. The movement in this game is very clean, considering the only thing you really do is float around, because there isn't really any traversal in this game. There is also no fast travel, so be prepared for a lot of just flying from place to place. For some, that will be a positive thing, as it does somewhat force you to explore, which, speaking of exploration, there is plenty of it. It is a fairly linear game, but you do have some options as to which area you will do at what time. And there are plenty of side paths and loot to go grab. Another masterful element of this game is the level design. The game weaves in and out of itself, throwing you from new and treacherous areas back to familiar safe havens in the blink of an eye most of the time. Somehow it feels like every time you turn around, you are saying, "Oh, I'm back here again." And it has a decent amount of content as well. My playthrough took a little over 30 hours, going through and exploring almost everything in each area, and I'm currently at the final boss. I haven't beat him yet because he's one of those difficulty spikes that I was talking about before, and I haven't had time to go back and grind for a minute. But the gameplay in this game is almost perfect, with the lack of fast travel being the only real thing I can say is maybe a negative. So in conclusion, this game is a definite must play. Whether you are a die-hard Souls fan or a more casual Souls enjoyer, there is something here for you to fall in love with, and I truly believe this game is a sleeper hit. So I highly recommend you give this game a try, and there is a free demo available over on Steam, so please consider at least heading over and giving the demo a try, and if you enjoy it, pick up a copy. I would love to see this developer rewarded for their hard work. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.